All right, let me quickly see if we are live now. I think we are. Okay, so in this video, we are going over the project management plan. So far, we have been covering a lot of specifics. I mean to say specific topics that are the basics of project management. And let me again share my screen to sort of cover the some of the basic topics that we have covered so far. So we've talked about project management basics, we've talked about project charter, we've talked about business case, project management office or PMO, and in this video we will cover project management plan. All of these topics are basically something that you as our community members have requested us, and we have, it's not like this is something totally new. We have covered topics like these in detail in the past as well, but a refresher is what a lot of people tend to sort of want. And this is also something that a lot of our new community members that might have not been a part of the PMC Lounge community for a long time, this is the first time that they will get to know the explanations and the details of all these basic topics that I just shared with you, right? Okay, so let's start things off. A quick brief about who I am. I've got my PMP certification almost a decade ago, and then I have several other project management specific certifications. My team wanted that we add logos of the certifications instead of just the text which we used to have earlier. I'm a speaker, mentor, consultant in several organizations that are listed here. All right, PMC Lounge, this is your number one free project management resource. Even if you're preparing for the PMP certification, or if you just want to stay abreast with what's happening in the world of project management, in the industry of project management, definitely consider subscribing. We are also on all the socials: Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. We also have our specific Telegram and WhatsApp channels, so you can check us out there. But let's get started with the agenda for today. As you can see, we have a packed agenda because we are talking about project management plan. And let me remind you that planning is something that project managers do a lot of. This is the, I would say, the meat and potatoes, the bread and butter of project managers. That is to be able to plan everything out, and everything requires planning. Whether it's not just that this is a topic for predictive project management. Planning is required even in adaptive project management, right? So there's a lot of ground to cover today. We will talk about what the project management plan is, why it matters, and we'll get into the details, some of the key features, components of the plan, subsidiary plans, baselines, supporting elements. All of these are part of the project management plan itself. Now, project management plan is not just one document. You can call it a document of documents, but we'll get into more of it as we sort of go over this topic. But you have to understand this, that the foundation of how projects are managed in the real world is what project management plan basically represents. Now, why does this plan matter? The first thing is that the project management plan is the most important document on your project. As simple as that. This is the number one most important document on your project. It brings together the scope, schedule, cost, risks, communications, and more into just one governed document that you can actually run the project with. If you are a newbie project manager, right, the first thing that you should be doing is to create a project management plan. And you will realize that when you're creating the project management plan, and when we go over the components of the project management plan, you will realize that you will get to know the in and out of the entire project just by creating this one document. And that is why this is so important, and this is the document that you can actually run your project with. The plan gives everyone a single source of truth. So instead of scattered files and opinions, stakeholders and team members refer to the same approved information throughout the life of the project. Now, this is going to reduce confusion. This is going to reduce conflict as well. Now, this plan also reduces surprises by preparing for risks and changes. So when you decide in advance how to handle issues, you respond calmly and consistently when those issues actually arises. As an example, if you predefine how to assess and approve scope changes, so you have a certain project scope, and if someone comes in and asks for a change, if it is predefined how you're going to handle scope changes, you are going to be very calm and very consistently handle such scope changes as and when they arrive throughout the life of your project. So that is why a project management plan matters. Now, what a project management plan really is: this is a comprehensive, approved roadmap for managing the project. Remember, the word approved is very important because this is not just one document that you as a project manager creates. In fact, I would like to argue that if you work on large projects, you might as well have a team that takes care of the project management plan, maybe two or three junior project managers or project management officers who consistently work on the project management plan and make sure that it stays up to date. So, what I was saying is, this is an approved roadmap, right? So, you have this document, and the major stakeholders of your project will approve the project management plan. That is, they will go over this plan, they will come to you if they need more details, and then they will sign off on this plan, because that is a must have for all kind of projects wherever project management plan is required. This tells the team how work will be executed, how it will be monitored and controlled from the beginning till the end. The project management plan also integrates subsidiary plans, and then there are some baseline documents into one coherent whole. So you can think of the project management plan as an umbrella, and this umbrella pulls in scope, schedule, cost, quality, risk, and all other plans that you can think of, plus the approved targets that you are going to measure your progress against. So all of this is part of your project management plan. This is a living document, and you have to ensure that you keep current. And that is the reason why I mentioned that on large projects, think of, metro lines, think of construction of dams, think of construction of highways, right? High rise buildings. For projects like these, you might have maybe a team of two or three junior project managers working on this project management plan just to make sure that it stays current and it is, as I said, a living document. So whenever new information arrives or conditions change, you update the plan so that decisions are always based on a reality, what's happening on your project basically. So here's an analogy, right? So planning a project is like planning a house before construction. You would never start pouring concrete without blueprints, utility layouts, and approvals, right? So think of you constructing your own house. You have the printout of the whole house in your hand, right? You have the entire layout, you have the entire blueprint, you have the utility layouts, you have, this is approved by all the stakeholders that might be required. It could be your family, it could be your elders, it could be maybe even your neighbors in some cases. They all approve of the construction of the house, the blueprint that you have. And once that is done, that's when you actually start doing the construction of the house, right? So it's not like you start the construction of the house without even having a plan. So this is just an analogy to understand project management plan even better. Now, what we are doing here is we plan first and execute later. So we are obviously avoiding rework here. In practice, one extra day of planning can save weeks of fixing mistakes later, like discovering mid build that kitchen needs more power outlets, right? So if you discover this during the construction or in the middle of when you are actually building, it may require a few days at least of fixing mistakes, if not weeks, right? Now, good planning is going to reduce mid project surprises as well. When issues do occur, you already know how to respond because the plan defined the path the checkpoints, and the escalation routes. Now, a lot of people tend to think that, the example that I just took about the construction of the house or the large projects that I'm referring to, a lot of people might tend to think that all this planning is something that is part of predictive projects and not so much about adaptive ones or the agile projects, so to say, right? Now, even in the agile world, when you are doing a 2 week sprint, you actually have a plan in place. You actually already know what you're going to build in the next 2 weeks. So it's not like you're not planning at all. You are still planning, but you're not planning for 1 year or the whole project at once. What you're doing is planning for a small chunk, right? Just the first 2 weeks of the work so that you can produce a deliverable which is shippable, which can be, shown to the customer and gather feedback. So it's not like agile does not require planning, or it may even require a project management plan, depending on the kind of project you're working on and the kind of environment that you're working on. So planning is important regardless of, what kind of project or what kind of methodology that you use to manage your project. A quick reminder about our PM 101 training session. It will be linked below. This is a 1.5 hours training video, an absolute legend with over 500,000 views. Definitely check this out after we are done with this session. All right, let's talk about the role of project manager. The project manager is going to lead creation of the plan with team and stakeholders. So remember, the word here is leads creation of the plan. So it doesn't say that the project manager is going to create the project management plan or draft the project management plan himself or herself. That is not the case. It it is a possibility that the project manager actually drafts the whole project management plan himself or herself, but it is also a possibility that a lot of different subject matter experts, a lot of you may have, as I mentioned earlier, junior project managers helping you out, right? So it's not always the case that the project manager is required to draft or write the whole project management plan. You have subject matter experts that provide inputs, but you as a project manager are going to integrate everything into a usable and then get approved document, right? So you will create a usable document and you will get that document approved by the stakeholders. The project manager consolidates requirements, constraints, assumptions into this document. For example, fixed launch dates. What is our launch date, right? So you have a fixed launch date which is part of your project management plan. Are there any compliance obligations? They should also be part of the plan. Are there any technology standards? They should be captured so that no one forgets them, right? So stuff like these, all of these, and we will look at the components of the project management plan. So, stick around till the end for sure. Now, the project manager keeps the plan approved, communicated, and updated. So as I mentioned, it has to be approved. Whatever that you put together needs to be approved by the key stakeholders. It needs to be communicated to the entire project team, and it must always stay up to date. So that means you are running reviews, you are sharing updates at stand-ups or status meetings, whatever meetings that you are part of when it comes to the project, and you are also revising baselines through proper change management process as and when required. Now, what are the key features of the plan? The plan is a single document that covers how you will manage the whole project. So the plan is going to describe the methods, the roles, cadence, and controls, so everyone knows how the project will actually run. Now, the plan also includes subsidiary plans, and that is the reason why I mentioned it is a plan of plans, or I should say a document of the related documents of the project. So all of that is included. It is also going to include scope, schedule, and cost baselines. Those baselines become the agreed targets the team is going to report against at every checkpoint of the project. The plan is also practical, it is actionable, and it is used daily by the team, almost on a daily basis, even multiple times a day. So you should keep it lean enough to read and structured enough to drive consistent decisions. It should not run into 500 pages, and then it just becomes useless because nobody's going to go over 500 pages every time they open up the document, right? So you need to ensure that it is lean enough, although still making sure that all the details are covered as much as possible, in as much detail as possible. But that is one thing to essentially make sure of. And the second thing is, your plan should be structured enough. It should not be like, some part of the project schedule is mentioned on page number 3, and some part related to the schedule is, or maybe the dependencies related to the schedule are mentioned on page number 7, and stuff like that. It should be a structured document. So that's again something that you should take care of. A quick reminder about our playlists. This is where the gold is: youtube.com/pmc lounge/playlists. If you're preparing for the PMP exam, definitely go over this. You will find every single topic that you need to know to prepare for your PMP exam right there, and it's all free. Now let's look at the components of the plan. So what are the subsidiary plans that make up the project management plan? And this is the reason why I mentioned that it is a plan of plans, or the document of documents, which is the more appropriate way to define the project management plan, right? So you have the scope management plan. It explains how scope is defined, controlled, and validated. So for example, it sets rules for adding or removing features and how acceptance will be confirmed. So this is something that your scope management plan is going to include. Then you have requirements management plan. So it explains how requirements are gathered, how they are analyzed, how they are tracked. There could be simple tools like requirements log with IDs, owners, and status to keep everyone aligned. And this requirements log can actually be just a spreadsheet where you list all the requirements of the project, and then whatever details that are required in front of each requirement, right? The schedule management plan, this is going to explain how the schedule is built, how it is monitored, how it is changed. It also clarifies your approach to estimating dependencies, buffers, and milestone tracking as well. So I hope you remember what we are talking about. We are looking at subsidiary plans, which are components of the project management plan. So project management plan in itself is nothing when it comes to, if you remove all these subsidiary plans. So all these plans, subsidiary plans, make up the project management plan, and that's why I said it's a document of documents. In fact, it contains much more than just the subsidiary plans, because there are some other documents which are part of the project management plan, which we are also going to look into. But I hope you realize that scope management plan, requirements management plan, schedule management plan, all of them are part of your project management plan. Then comes the cost management plan, and it explains how the budget is estimated, approved, and controlled. It also defines how you handle variances and report forecast at completion of the project or a phase of the project. Then there's quality management plan. It explains how quality standards and checks are applied. It may include test strategies, reviews, and acceptance criteria to avoid any late stage defects as well. So these are some of the subsidiary plans. In fact, there are more subsidiary plans that are components of the project management plan, like your resource management plan. It explains how people and physical resources are planned and managed. It addresses roles, onboarding, backups, and how to handle any ramp ups or roll offs later. The communications management plan explains how who needs what information and when do they need it. For example, weekly status emails to sponsors, but daily stand-ups for the project team. So all of that can be defined in this plan. Then you have risk management plan. It explains how risks are identified, analyzed, and responded to. It also defines owners and triggers so responses are timely and they are consistent. Then we talk about the procurement management plan. It explains how external goods and services are acquired. It covers, vendor selection, contracts, delivery milestones, and acceptance steps as well. By the way, I'd like to remind you that we have covered all these knowledge areas in the past. So if you go to the playlist section of our YouTube channel, you will find resource management knowledge area, you will find communications management knowledge area, procurement management knowledge area. So all the details that you need about these not just these plans, but the whole knowledge area. What are the processes? What are the tools and techniques that are used as part of these knowledge area? Everything is available there. Finally, we come to the stakeholder engagement plan, which explains how stakeholders are analyzed, how they are engaged. It maps, influence and interest. It also sets the right touch points to keep these stakeholders supportive. Now, in addition to the subsidiary plans, the project management plan also contains some baselines. So you have a document called the scope baseline. This is the approved scope statement, the work breakdown structure, and the work breakdown structure dictionary. So this is not one document. Scope baseline is not one document. It's a package of these three things: the scope statement, your work breakdown structure, and your WBS dictionary. So with this snapshot, you can tell what is in the scope of the project and what is out of the scope of project. And you can obviously spot any kind of scope creep as well. The schedule baseline, this is the approved timeline against which the progress of the project is measured. So it locks your milestones and critical path so that variances are visible and they are actionable. The cost baseline is approved budget against which spending is measured. So what is the approved budget? Who has, the sponsor has approved some budget for your project, right? So what exactly is that? That comes as part of your cost baseline, and that is what you use to sort of measure your progress, to see how much you have spent, how much value that you have achieved so far. So it is going to define phase, or your work package funding as well. So either your phase funding or your work package funding, so you can control costs proactively. And then there's the performance measurement baseline, which integrates scope, schedule, cost, all of this for tracking. A lot more about performance measurement baseline is available on this channel. Definitely do a search and you will find a lot of stuff. By the way, we have loads and loads of articles on our official website, pmclounge.com. So if you want to read about all of this, definitely head over to pmclounge.com and search for these topics, or just go under resources and you'll be able to locate all of this that we are talking about. All right, let's talk about some of the supporting elements that are also part of the project management plan. So you have the change management plan. It is not a subsidiary plan, but it is a supporting element for sure. This explains how changes are requested, how they are evaluated, and how they are approved. Clear steps prevent scope creep, and it can keep your project much more intentional. Then there's something called the configuration management plan, and it explains how controlled items stay consistent and how they can stay traceable. It covers versions of key documents and deliverables, so you always know what exactly is current. Then there's project lifecycle. It explains the phases that the project is going to pass through. That is what the project lifecycle explains. There could be examples like examples of the phases. Of course, it could be discovery, design, build, test, and then deployment. And there could be exit criteria for each phase as well. Now, the development approach explains whether the team uses predictive, adaptive or agile, or a hybrid way to deliver, right? So you can pick the approach that fits the work, that fits the kind of project that you're working on, and even your organization's constraints. So that's the development approach, which is a supporting element of the project management plan. Then there are management reviews. They explain when formal checkpoints occur and what decisions are made. So these reviews are going to keep leadership engaged, and they are going to give you a venue to approve changes or any corrective actions. At this point, I would also like to bring in our YouTube membership, which is the VIP Pass. This is the name of our YouTube membership program. You get a lot of perks if you join our YouTube membership. A lot of bang for your buck for sure. So definitely hit the join button or the subscribe plus button, whatever button that you see on our channel, and join the community, the awesome community that is also our YouTube members. as I mentioned, you get a lot of perks. You get direct access to me. You get collaboration opportunities, premium courses, and of course, any kind of virtual consultation is also possible. All right, let's talk about the common mistakes that you should avoid when it comes to the project management plan. Number one is treating the plan as paperwork instead of a working tool. This is definitely a mistake. A lot of people tend to think that project management plan is just formality. We are just creating this because this is something that we are supposed to do. Now, if no one is going to use it, the project will default to ad hoc decisions and inconsistent practices, which is something that you as a project manager definitely do not want. Failing to update the plan regularly is also going to make it useless. So you have to make sure that you keep this project management plan as updated as possible. You should refer to it in your meetings, in your stand ups, and you should revise it through the change control when facts change, when things change on your project. Skipping stakeholder input reduces buy in and causes rework. So, this is something that as a project manager, you would either know or you're going to learn the hard way. So, this is also the reason why it is so important that stakeholders sign off on whatever the project management plan that you have put together, right? So, you have to involve the stakeholders early. This is going to surface the expectations, the constraints. That is, if these are not surfaced earlier, then it is definitely going to derail you later on your project. Leaving scope or requirements vague is always going to invite scope creep. So be as detailed as possible when it comes to your project scope. Clear statements, clear acceptance criteria, even a simple change process, right? Don't make it too complicated. Simpler change process is going to all of this, whatever that I just mentioned. Clear statements in your project management plan, clear acceptance criteria, simpler change process. All of these are going to protect the team from endless additions that you will otherwise experience throughout the course of your project. Setting unrealistic timelines or budgets leads to overruns. You should always have honest estimates, and you should have visible buffers. This is going to beat wishful thinking every single time. Trust me on this. Now, what are some of the best practices for success when it comes to project management plans? So, you should first of all co create the plan with your team and key stakeholders. Participation is always going to build ownership, it is going to surface risks early, and it is going to reduce any kind of resistance later on in the project, right? So always make sure that you do not create the project management plan by your own sitting in your basement or in your office. You should always co-create it with the key stakeholders. You should keep the plan concise, keep it structured, and keep it easy to navigate so that people actually use your project management plan. You can use clear headings, you can use simple language, you can use short sections so people actually read and go over the project management plan when you share it with them. You can break down and assign clear ownership, and this is where a solid work breakdown structure comes into the picture. You can always ensure that you have named owners against all the activities listed in the WBS, all the components of the WBS, and this is going to also make the progress visible, and this is also going to make the accountability much more real. Set baselines early and review the performance routinely. You can compare actuals to the baselines so that you can catch issues early and you can trigger any corrective actions as needed. And you should always aim for a usable plan today and refine as you learn tomorrow. So do not chase perfection right from the beginning, right? Keep your project management plan document current. Let the document evolve as the project evolves, as you get more information about the project. Now, finally, what are the key takeaways? The project management plan is your approved roadmap for running the project. It is going to set expectations for execution, monitoring, and control in a way that everyone in the project team can follow. The plan integrates subsidiary plans that we looked into. It also integrates baselines and some supportive elements that we looked into. And this integration lets you make decisions with the full picture rather than some isolated data points, right? The project management plan is only going to work if you use it, if your project team uses it, and you make sure that it is current. You have to bring it to reviews, you have to reference it in discussions, you have to update it through change control so it remains your project's single source of truth and it remains something, a path of sorts that your project team follows throughout the course of your project. So that was all that we wanted to talk about the project management plan. I hope you got value out of this video. Definitely keep learning and check out our other videos. My only call to action would be to subscribe to this channel, like this content and share this content so that it helps us understand you like and value such content on the channel, and it helps us stay motivated to create more such free content for you. I'll catch you guys